Hi, and welcome to the show. Today we'll be interviewing our guest, RoahmMythril. Thank you for joining us, Rohan.
RoahmMythril, but hello.
And how are you today?
I'm doing pretty okay today.
That's good to hear. Okay, so you've seen the questions already, so I guess I'll go ahead and start asking them for it.
Right.
So the first question I have for you is, what inspired you to start a YouTube channel?
Gaming has always just kind of been a passion of mine. I go way back. I am old. I'm 40 right now, and so the first game system I ever played was the Atari 2600. And so I lived through the video game crash of the early 80s and the revival when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out. And so video games have just always been a big part of my life, and I wanted to share that with people. And as Let's Plays started getting popularity, gaining some traction out there, there were a couple of people that I watched doing these kind of videos that sort of inspired me. One was Raucow and another was Proton John. They were the first two Let's Players I ever really started watching regularly, and seeing them do this and seeing they had a following, it just kind of made me feel like, okay, maybe this is something that I could do. I started looking into what kind of equipment I would need. The early days, I didn't have a very powerful system, and I had to basically rely on whatever freeware I could find that would run on old win- uh, run on an old system like Windows Vista. But I finally got that running and was able to get the channel started. And from there, I was just able to kind of get things built up more and more. But that was my inspiration, was just starting with that. And I just wanted to share my experiences with games and have a good time with it.
I can understand that. I kind of was in the same boat when I tried to start up a gaming channel. I was a NES kid, so I grew up during the revival during the NES times and started with that and been playing ever since.
That'll do it.
So my next question is, what are some things you do to help with the burnout from projects?
Well, interesting timing on this, considering I just went through a huge period of more real life burnout just from a lot of stressful situations just coming up all at once. Uh, I kind of took a bit of a step back from the channel for a while during all that until things started kind of getting back on track a bit, and I think I'm slowly getting back to that point. I'm kind of practicing doing shorter recordings to get back in the habit of doing commentary and all that, but during the worst of it, I mostly just kind of spent time hanging out with friends and just playing some games for my own entertainment. Like, one of the big ones that kind of got me through it was just messing around with New Horizons and the new downloadable content for that. It's just very nice and relaxing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I get burnt out on like right now I'm playing RuneScape with friends, and it's a very grind intensive game. So I kind of have to take breaks here and there, otherwise I'll burn myself out and won't continue with it.
Yeah.
There's a game that I actually thought that you might like because I played it recently. Since you're a Metroidvania RPG gamer like me, have you tried Monster Sanctuary yet?
I believe I do actually have that one on Switch. I played a bit of it. I haven't gotten too far in it. It's one of those, it's the curse of collecting a lot of games that you'll play a game for a bit, but then something else will come out and you'll get distracted by that new game. I really need to go back and play more of that though. That was an interesting one.
Yeah, that's one I can highly recommend because it's one of the very few games I've actually got all the achievements for.
Nice.
So, next question is, as a gamer and someone who enjoys classic games, what are some hidden gems you have found?
I know there are some gaps in my knowledge here and there. Like recently, I actually had somebody ask if I had any opinion on an old action RPG for the NES, Crystallis. I've heard the name, but I've never really looked too much into it. So it might be something I look into at some point soon. Uh,
I'd be
but
careful with that.
overall, just I tend to. Oh,
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay. What I was saying is I'd be careful with that one because the original NES version of it is a lot harder than the remake because of how much enemies won't take damage if you're not at a certain level.
I see. But yeah, as far as hidden gems, I just kind of play whatever pokes my interest at the time. Like I still have this one N64 game that is kind of infamous for just how weird it is, but and I freely admit that it is very janky and weird, but for some reason I still kind of like that game. Iggy's Wrecking Balls. It was a really weird racing game, but for some reason I enjoyed it.
I've actually played that myself. It is pretty fun. There's a lot of stuff to unlock in it too.
Yeah.
So the next question I have: are there any games you didn't play when you were younger, but as an adult wish you have played?
Feel like there's a lot of like Super Nintendo games that kind of fit that bill for me. A lot of it happened while I was in college, actually, while I was attending Full Sail out in Florida. Uh, it just hit this point where, like, I know you're not technically supposed to do this kind of thing, but there were a lot of lecture classes that I tend to learn better on my own pace as far as like doing research through books, taking my notes that way than listening to some of the instructors. So I just had like a lot of games on my laptop, and they were pretty lax about as long as you're doing okay in the class, it's your time, do what you want, as long as you're not distracting others. So I'd sometimes just sit in the back row and just be messing around with games and just kind of paying attention to, okay, this is the stuff I need to look into more when I get out of class for the day. And so, yeah, I ended up playing a bunch of Super Nintendo games that way.
Yeah, I kind of did the same when I was in computer class. Because basically, if you got the work done and it was done well enough, they didn't care what you did with the extra time.
I actually had that experience when I was in high school. There was a class that I had to take for accreditation. I had to take a class on accounting, and just to show you how the school was, there were 6 students in that class, and the teacher had basically just gotten out of school herself. And I basically managed to finish the entire year's worth of work within like the first 6 weeks. And so the teacher made a deal with me that as long as I would help out the other students if they had questions and she was busy, I could just bring my Game Boy to class and play that. So I ended up playing a lot of Pokemon in that class.
Kind of the way I was at the computer class because I had a computer at home, so I had a lot of the general basic stuff that they were teaching, and the only thing I really learned in that was a bit of web design.
Hey, it works out.
So the next question, as a big fan of the Megaman series, what is your overall favorite Megaman game? This could include official and fan games.
I think overall Mega Man 9 is still my favorite, though I also really enjoyed 10 and 11. 9, I think, kind of has this benefit of it had been the first Mega Man game in a long while after a severe drought of love for the series. And yeah, I will admit I am kind of a sucker for nostalgia, and the 8-bit style always kind of feels like the best for me for classic Mega Man. I think other styles can work too, like I really liked 11, for example. 11 also had some of that energy of, it's been a while since we got a Mega Man game, hey, here's this new one, and it was really fun. But the thing about 9 is I feel like the overall selection of weapons in that one is just really nicely balanced. They all feel super useful in that game. And it also does admittedly have my all-time favorite robot master, Jewel Man, so yeah, that gets at some points.
And as a dragon, I would expect Jewel Man to be your favorite.
Yes, surprising no one.
Knowing that you are not a big fan of the Mega Man X series, what would change? What would you change about it to make it more appealing?
Honestly, nothing. It's not a thing of I think that they're bad games or anything. I think they're perfectly fine. They're just not for me, and that's cool. Not every game can be aimed at every person out there, after all. There's going to be different audiences, different tastes in games, different preferences for what you like versus what you don't like. And so I'm perfectly fine with that, that there are some games out there that just aren't for me, but they are for other audiences, and I think that's cool.
Actually, I think this is a pretty good answer. Knowing that you've played the classic Metroid for NES, do you have any plans to play Super Metroid?
Definitely, yes. I really like Super Metroid. I would probably say that is my overall favorite Metroid game. Uh, Dread, I just played through that one. Dread is really good, but there's something about Super Metroid that I just enjoy more, I would say.
I think my biggest problem with Dread was the stealth mechanic they added to it, and I was not a big fan of that.
I will admit one thing I do kind of wish modern Metroid games would get away from is overemphasizing the melee counter. If it was kept for, boss sequences, I'd be okay with that. But the fact that, so many of just the minor enemies want you to do melee counters against them, it just gets in the way of shooty fun times.
I can agree with that too. That was the other mechanic I didn't really like. I did like the one ability where you can dash in the air and stuff. That was a good addition, but other than that, a lot of the new features
Yeah,
I
that one's
wasn't
cool.
a lot of the new features I wasn't a really big fan of. Are there any new games coming out that you're excited about?
Most of the games I've really been waiting for, admittedly, they've already released by now. Like Metroid Dread was a big one on that list. Uh, I was really interested in Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Uh, I feel like there was another one that came out fairly recently too that I was super looking forward to. But also the DLC for Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've really been enjoying that. One I am still waiting for. Okay, actually, two. There are a couple of indie games I'm really waiting for, hoping for news and release information on them. I am still super looking forward to Hollow Knight Silk Song and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with the Hollow Knight one because I actually just recently played through the first one this year and really enjoyed it. So I've been trying to watch out for that. Another one that's kind of caught
Yeah,
my
that
interest.
game was really good.
They did it very well. The other game I was actually looking forward to is Elden Ring when it comes out because I'm a big Dark Souls fan. I like the challenge of it because it reminds me of the old games where it was hard but fair. You could actually learn it.
I had the remastered Dark Souls on Switch, but I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and play that one yet. I really should.
It's one where if you take the time to learn the mechanics, it gets so much easier and you'll start to expect some of the stuff that they're going to throw at you.
Yeah, there is actually another expansion I am really looking forward to next year, and that's the Sunbreak DLC for Monster Hunter Rise. I'm really looking forward to that.
Actually, really need to get back into that game. I haven't played it since it first released. Are there any lesser known YouTubers that you enjoy watching?
I always have a hard time really knowing how well known versus how lesser known someone is. I have a hard time kind of gauging that, admittedly. But like, I still watch Raocow and Proton John, and with Proton John, I also watch his collaborative channel, The Runaway Guys, where he works with Chugga Conroy, Nintendo Capri Sun, and some other people there too. I always enjoy watching that stuff. Uh, Lately, I've been watching a lot of Vinny from Vine Sauce. He's kind of fun to listen to, and there are a couple of uh, horror channels that I watch as well. Mr. Craven and Manly Badass Hero. I just enjoy their takes on things and watching them play through those kinds of games.
It's funny you mentioned Manly Badass Hero. I actually started watching him recently myself as well. He is pretty good. I like that he goes through
Nice.
every game and
Yeah,
shows off everything.
yeah, I really enjoy that.
Are there any more well-known YouTubers you enjoy? Like, for example, one of the well-known YouTube groups I like is Game Grumps and Markiplier.
I enjoy watching both of those. Yes, I tend to watch some of their new content when it comes out, and I just have a good time with that. Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, as a Scottish Dragon, is there any particular Scottish dish you enjoy the most?
I don't know about like main dishes, but one thing I always kind of associate with Scottish stuff, more on the dessert side of things, is I love shortbread cookies.
I actually like shortbread cookies too. They're pretty good. I didn't know they were actually a Scottish dish.
I think they are. I could be wrong on that. I just have an association of it being Scottish. I'm admittedly not entirely sure where that came from, so I wouldn't be surprised to learn that I was wrong, but I have that association somehow.
I can understand that. I have a lot of association with certain foods being Southern, and they actually take their roots from German food.
Yeah.
So to piggyback on that question is, what is your favorite type of food, like Mexican, German, Southern, etc.?
I absolutely love Italian food. I absolutely cannot get enough of pasta. It is just really good.
Yeah, my girlfriend really loves pasta too. I'm more of a spicy food person, so I like Mexican and Indian foods, stuff with heavy spices and can kind of give you a little tingle on the tongue.
Yeah, my uncle loves the spicy stuff. He loves putting hot sauce on things.
Actually, like putting this ghost pepper sauce we found. It's like a really creamy sauce that negates a lot of the heat, but it still gives it the flavor of the ghost pepper. And a
Huh.
lot of people are turned off by ghost peppers because of the heat, but as a pepper, they actually have really good flavor.
Huh. Interesting.
And on top of that, what is your overall favorite dish?
Chicken fettuccine Alfredo. I know it is rich and it is probably not very good for me, but I don't care. Screw the rules. Give me the pasta.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that with spaghetti. I'm trying to do the keto diet because I need to lose some weight, and keto is actually healthy. But my weakness is spaghetti and the pasta in it. That and potatoes.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to cook?
I have not really had a lot of opportunities to do my own cooking, unfortunately. It was something I really wanted to do while I was attending Full Sail, but the schedule there was just ridiculous, so I didn't have too much time to actually cook for myself. The one time I did, I made home-grilled hamburgers. It was like early on in the curriculum where we just had the most basic classes, and it coincided with us having a 3-day weekend around 4th of July, so I just decided I'm going to try this, and it actually turned out really well, and I found out I do enjoy cooking for myself. I just wish I had more of an opportunity to do so.
Because of me recently getting put on disability through the military, I actually stay at home more, and because of that, I started cooking more. And there's a YouTube channel that I got a lot of inspiration from called Good Mythical Kitchen. It's a spinoff of Good Mythical Morning, and the reason I like it so much is because he'll break
Part of
it
that.
down. He breaks down all the stuff, and it's really cheap stuff. Like he has a video on making ramen into like French onion soup, and it's really easy, really clear, shows you the measurements and everything, and it's just fun and gets you ideas of, hey, maybe I should try this. It might be good. Best thing I can say is if you ever get time to, just experiment and have fun with it.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so my next question is, what do you do to relax?
Usually, admittedly, it is just kind of playing games for my own fun. Sometimes I'll just have like Blu-rays or DVDs of old TV shows that I enjoy on in the background. Like around Halloween, I was binging the old Addams Family TV show. Uh, Also, I've been trying to get back in the practice of drawing because I enjoy doing that. I usually just do sketch work with actual pencil and paper. I don't have like a good tablet or anything like that. So, yeah, sometimes I'll just draw for fun.
Yeah, I've actually been trying to get back into drawing myself because girlfriend's like, hey, you're actually good, you should try. So I bought a sketch pad and some mechanical pencils and just been sketching.
Cool.
Do you have any pets?
Well, there is actually a silly answer to that. Put it this way, I used to be part of like this online survey group that you could do surveys to get points for rewards and stuff. And there was a survey that came up involving pet food. And the first question was, how many cats do you have at your home? And I gave my answer, 13. And it said, you are not allowed to have that many cats, and it kicked me out of the survey. But yeah, my mom, she was, for lack of a better term, a crazy cat lady of a sort. I mean, not the hoarding type, but the situation is we kind of live out in the middle of the country, and one of the unfortunate parts of living out in the middle of the country is you tend to be kind of a dumping ground for when people want to get rid of their own pets, and so rather than be responsible and take them to like a shelter or whatever, they'll just kind of dump them off in the middle of the country and let them fend for themselves. Well, we ended up with a lot of cats here and a few dogs, and my mom, she was just the type that she had a huge heart. She could not say no to any stray that showed up, and so we just kind of have these all these cats that came here while she was still with us, and so we just kind of care for them in her memory.
It's kind of how my grandma is. She lives in a mill village, and people just bring a lot of cats off, dump them off there, and she just puts food out there and basically tries to make sure they can eat. I think she has
Yeah, pretty
around
much what we do.
I think she has around 13 or 14 strays out there, and we've actually taken in. We took in a stray while we were living there, and we took in one of the kittens that one of the strays had, and we also rescued a dog from the shelter. And this dog was like super quiet, and as soon as we walked by, she started barking and carrying on. And as we left, she'd bark louder. We come back, she calmed down, so we ended up taking her. And come to find out, she had actually been in the shelter for over a year and a half.
Wow.
And she's the sweetest dog ever.
Well, I'm
So
glad it sounds like she got a good home then.
Oh yeah, we've actually managed to put 20 pounds on her because she was a little underweight when we got her, but she's doing well now.
Oh, wow. Great.
So the next question is, do you read? If so, what types of things do you like to read?
My interest in reading basically got killed off by high school literature classes that had extremely pretentious teachers who had the mindset of if you don't get what I got out of this book, then you're wrong. We weren't allowed to interpret literature in our own way or get our own lessons or things from what we read. We had to agree with what she thought of the book. And also, she had the attitude of tragedy is the only valid form of writing. And so, just going through what you're already going through in life in high school, just constantly being force fed tragedies, it got real old real fast. And I haven't enjoyed reading ever since, really.
And that teacher had a very narrow mindset. There's a lot to enjoy with reading, not just tragedy. There's comedies, action. There's just so much out there, and a lot of books do a lot better than their film or movie or any kind of adaptation because you get like
Yeah.
more details, better interpretation because it's your own personal interpretation, not anything else. So I I'm
Right.
guilty that I don't read much anymore, but I used to read all the time.
When I used to enjoy reading, it was mostly fantasy type stuff. Like there was one series of books I really enjoyed, and that was the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett.
Fantasy, I haven't read too much fantasy. I've actually gotten more into reading horror-esque type stuff. There's a Wikipedia called the SCP Foundation, and I actually read a lot of that because I watch videos on it, and I'm like, huh, that sounds
Oh,
interesting.
yes,
Much
same.
material. There's so much material there. If Netflix ever needed an idea, just go there and make videos about the SCP Foundation.
Oh man, yeah. There are so many of those articles that I just find so fascinating. Like my personal favorite is the clockwork mechanism. I love that one.
Actually, I like the Hard to Destroy Reptile just because they've expanded on it so much over the years. I've read it ever since it was just
Oh yeah.
one little article. Now there's like this whole backstory of him and the Gate Guardian, and it's I like watching it grow.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing.
So my next question is, when making choices, do you favor emotion or logic?
Honestly, probably somewhere between the two. I try to favor logic, but emotion's always going to play a part.
Yeah, that's the downside with me is I favor logic heavily because of the certain mental disorders I have cause me to think more logically and feel less emotionally, and it kind of causes a little bit of problems when you can't see the emotional standpoint as opposed to the logical standpoint and you can only see what's logically best. And so it's a good thing that you can see both, but
Right.
it's kind of hard for me to do that.
Understandable.
But I do try. So,
Right.
where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully somewhere with better internet for starters. Honestly, as long as I'm still having fun doing the stuff that I do, as long as it's still feasibly possible for me to do that, I would like to continue working on it, but it would definitely be nice to be able to get my own place again, have real internet to where I don't have to be up until 6 a.m. every night, can actually function as a normal person instead of just the weird schedule I'm on that I'm sure contributes a lot to my burnout.
Yeah, I'm a bigger night person anyway, so but yeah, I can understand that. For me, I got Spectrum. Our other choice was HughesNet, and based on what you've mentioned in your videos before, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not messing with HughesNet.
Yeah, no, no, would not recommend.
Another one I wouldn't recommend if you ever heard of them is Northern Cable. They actually tried to charge me $300 to hook up in a place that the previous residents didn't pay the bill. I was like, yeah, no, I'll just have no internet. So, any funny stories you'd like to share?
Well, there there has been weirdness with me lately involving the fact that just due to the small area I live in, I get called for jury duty a lot. I just had to deal with the ninth time I got called in for it. The jury duty stuff itself isn't the amusing part. It's just certain people that I have noticed either by name or look the last couple of times I've been up there. Uh, the last time I went up, There was a guy who I heard the name and instantly just had to kind of stifle a laugh. There was actually someone by the name of Barry Burton, which, as a fan of Resident Evil, that's all I could think of was the original Resident Evil and Barry's kind of hammy overacting. What is this? That kind of thing. This recent time that I went in, it wasn't a name. It was just one particular person I saw walking around that I swear basically looked like Agent 47 from Hitman, just minus the barcode tattoo.
Crazy how you could see these types of people actually out there in public and just like, huh, you remind me of this person, this person.
Yeah.
I actually seen someone that had the attitude of Sonic from Sonic '06, and I was just like, oh god.
Oh no.
It's like from the sound of it though, it sounds like you got put on grand jury, where you got to come in a few times in the year to do multiple, or was it just standard and you just got
It
picked?
just standard, and I actually didn't get picked. Like, I've been called up 9 different times over the course of my life. Of those times, I think it was 3 times that I was told I didn't actually need to come in. They do that thing where you have your juror number, you're supposed to call the courthouse like the Friday after work hours before you're supposed to go up there, and they tell you if you're in the group of jurors that has to go up there or if you can stay home. So 3 times I got out that way. Uh, 5 times I actually did have to go up there, but as they were selecting jurors, there was something that came up along the way as we were being questioned by the attorneys that brought up like a bias that I would have in the case. Usually it had to deal with cases involving narcotics. I've had issues with people I have known in my life that give me a severe bias in that case where I don't feel like I could remain unaffected by that and be fair in analyzing the trial. The closest I got, there was actually a point where I would have been selected for the jury, and we were waiting there at the courtroom for the trial to begin, but the defendant skipped town.
Yeah, but that was interesting.
Oh boy, the defense attorney was livid at that one. Oh man.
I mean, can you blame them?
No, I really cannot.
The only time I went to jury duty, I actually got selected for a grand jury, and it is the most boring thing you will ever do. For a grand jury, at least in the area I got selected, you get pulled in with a bunch of other jurors and are read like 100 to 200 different cases, and you determine whether or not there's enough evidence to take it to court or not.
Huh.
It's like I hate to say it, but by the end of it, we're just saying yes to all of them because after about 150 of them, you don't want to hear anymore, and all of the ones before that were going anyway. So it's just like, just make this day end, please.
Just click the yes to all button.
Pretty much. But that was like the most boring experience ever, and I'm glad you're able to get out of most of them because it's pull your hair out type of dull.
Yeah, same.
Is there anything in particular that I haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about?
Nothing really I can think of too much other than just people out there that are maybe interested in getting into this kind of thing. Uh, I would just suggest, have a good plan of what kind of stuff you want to do. Like, do you want to limit yourself to just one particular franchise or series, or do you want to do more varied stuff? And trust me on this, if you want to do a variety channel, get variety going as soon as you can. That was a bit of a mistake that I made, and so now I am just kind of the Megaman guy, but I'm trying to get more variety going on the channel as much as I can.
Yeah, I can actually say I think the first video of yours I actually saw was your perfect runs. I think it was Mega Man 2 is when I caught up and started watching you.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people know me for, and that's cool, but I do like to be known for other stuff too as much as I can. Just it's fun to discuss more than just the one series. Like I love Silent Hill, so I had a lot of fun doing those projects, Pikmin, Pokemon, Spyro, all kinds of stuff.
I actually really hope Team Silent gets back together because those were really good series and that was really good storytelling.
I keep hearing off and on rumors about that like some of the original members of Team Silent might be getting back together to make a new Silent Hill on PS5, but I haven't heard anything strongly backing that up. And news from Konami can be kind of weird, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I kind of find it hard to keep up with a lot of companies that have disbanded and tried to get back together because there's a lot of series I wish would continue but don't because the companies broke up. But
Yep.
I will say that I do like your other videos besides the Mega Man because you do some research and you're very knowledgeable about the games. I like one of the games you played fairly recently was Secret of Evermore, and that was a game I grew up playing all the time, and I actually learned a couple of things because of you. Like I had
Yeah,
no,
that is an interesting game. It definitely has old Super Nintendo RPG jank to it, but it is really fun. I like that one.
yeah, I didn't even know where the Sting alchemy formula was until I saw you get it, and I was like, oh, there's the one formula I missed
Oh
this
yeah,
entire time.
that one is well hidden.
And I don't know if you saw, but I actually posted in one of your videos there was a glitch when you were fighting the raptors in the bushes that the raptor just appeared in the top corner of the screen. I was like, huh, I wonder if you noticed that.
That sounds about right.
And then there was I think the only other time I commented was when you were in the labyrinth woods. You know, those imp things that sit on the tree actually tell you which way you're going. Like if there's not one there, you went the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever actually did notice that.
I actually didn't notice that till after a while of playing it, I started noticing it because before I just thought it was a random. I go this way, go this way, go this way. I actually tried to draw out a map of it and got lost with my own map.
Mm. I even found a map online to follow just to try and make sure that I showed everything in the maze because there are times to show things in that area you do have to go off of the correct path. So it's probably just as well that I didn't notice the imps were pointing the right way. But yeah, even following that map, it is really easy to get lost with how certain things line up.
I just thought it was crazy that they thought ahead enough to put such a subtle hint at it so you could easily do it if you knew what you were looking for.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's actually pretty cool. And that's another thing that doing these projects I love is that even all these old games that I played as a kid, it's cool that I can still learn new things about them.
actually like really subtle hints in games and stuff. That's why I like the Dark Souls series because the storytelling is all done through items and placement of everything where everything is placed because it makes you
Hmm.
think and speculate and create your own story based on everything. And I like that games take attention to detail and do stuff like that.
I see.
The next question is any upcoming projects you would like to announce?
As far as upcoming projects, I am still kind of being secretive about some of the things that I do have coming up past when Battle Network 5 gets finished, which I need to get back to that, but I am still kind of in the process of getting back in the swing of things after the big period of burnout that I had. And so currently, what I'm mostly doing is just recording little one offs or quick projects to just get back in the habit of doing commentary and everything. I've been doing some matches of Worms Armageddon with friends, posting those. And I also did my first semi blind run of World of Horror, which I'm going to be editing and posting that later tonight at the time of recording this. I am also lining up some things to put onto a third Let's Vote list, so I am working on that in the background. So, yeah.
I've actually never heard of World of Horror. What's it about?
World of Horror is a game on Steam. It's currently in early access, but they are still working on it. There's supposed to be an update coming sometime in the near future, sooner or later. But it's kind of a roguelite sort of game in a way that you're going through these investigations of different eldritch horror type scenarios, and different events that happen can mess with your stats, things like that. There's kind of a turn-based combat system in it that you fill out a time bar with various actions that each take certain amounts of time, and so you have to try and optimize what all you can get away with in your turn before the monster hits you. Uh, the visual style takes a lot of cues from like Junji Ito style horror. So it's not for everyone. There's a lot of body horror type stuff in there, and it can get pretty creepy. But it's actually really interesting, and I enjoy it.
I'm actually surprised that a lot of games didn't take advantage of what Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem did with the sanity meter. I feel that's a mechanic that should be added into some new horror games.
To be fair, I think when they were working on that, they'd actually patented that system, so it might be a little bit tricky to implement that kind of thing in another game due to that, legalese and all that. But yeah, I would love to see more stuff like that done. Uh, there are other games that have tried to do like sanity effects, like I think Amnesia tried to do that, but it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel as good to me.
That's because Amnesia was very just basic with it. Like with that, what with Eternal
Yeah.
Darkness, you'd have stuff like your save file getting deleted as a sanity effect and stuff like that. Stuff that affects you, not just the character. I feel that's you need more games that have effects
Right.
that scare you as opposed to just the player, or jump scares or stuff like that. Stuff that'll creep you out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that was actually my last question. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap this up?
I think I'm good.
All right, so now it's the time of the video where you can feel free to plug your social media, website, etc., which I'll also link down in the description of the video.
Well, as far as social media, I basically try and keep people updated on things that are going on via Twitter. I'm just RoahmMythril on Twitter. No space in the name or anything like that. I also run a Q&A blog over on Tumblr at Ask RoahmMythril, and I have my homepage that I update every month. That's Dragonsoft Studio. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything there.
Alrighty, and I will make sure to put both of those down in the description of the video. I do want to thank you for doing this interview, as well as thank you for all the years of entertainment, and I hope for many more to come.
No problem. Thank you for having me.